This happened years ago, but the thought of it still keeps me up at night. I was walking through the hills of a provincial park with my dog during winter, so the sun set much faster than I expected before I could get back into my car. Once the sun was gone and all you could see was darkness, I was walking slowly through a field when, out of nowhere, I had to this day the most gut-wrenching, undeniable feeling I was being watched. I turned around and in the distance I saw a figure standing there, darker than the night sky around us. The instant I saw him, my stomach dropped and my body literally froze. I knew in that moment somehow he was coming for me. I grabbed my dog's leash and we book it. Sprinting, full speed, up and down hills, around trees, down embankments. I was running so fast as if my life was dependent on it, and to this day I'm pretty sure it was. I make the 30 to 45 minute trip in 10, and all that stands before me and my car is this switchback you have to go back and forth up if you want to reach the top. So once again, I'm giving it all I got, running up this switchback as fast as I possibly can, and once I reach the top, I look back down. Who else but this person chasing me? And does he go up the switchback like how any sane person would? Of course not. He starts sprinting right up the middle of this switchback, heading right towards me. I screamed at him to F off, and he doesn't say anything. Not a single word, just continues running right at me. I'm so lucky my car was up this hill, because I ran towards it. Just like in a horror movie, I drop my keys and are fiddling with them trying to open the door. Just in time, I get the door open, throw my dog in, and shut the door right behind me as this guy reaches for us. Best part is, there are no other vehicles parked anywhere around us. But where did this person park? Yeah, right next to me, of all places. Now this guy literally jumps into his truck so fast, and to this day, I have never seen a better example of speeds out of there like a bat out of hell. He guns the engine so hard, black smoke is blasting out of the back as he swerves out of there, leaving skid marks behind him. I sat in the back of my vehicle for hours afterwards, shaking and crying, knowing I was this close to whatever he had planned for me. And that's why I'm sharing this story, in hopes that people won't ignore that gut feeling, the little voice in the back of your head that tells you to run. If I did it that day, I would never have noticed him in time and would not have had a head start I needed to escape. Always trust your gut feeling and intuition. It might be the deciding factor if this is your final day on Earth or not. This happened back in March of this year. It was close to my birthday and my boyfriend had been talking to someone on the Facebook market about a listing. He calls me after work one day because it was close to time for him to be home normally and he didn't want me to worry. He told me he was sitting in a gas station parking lot waiting for some dude to show up so my boyfriend could buy the gift from him and then head home. At this time, it generally took my boyfriend 45 minutes to get home from work, so he had been waiting on that dude this whole time. He tells me that the guy started taking forever to respond to texts. He wouldn't answer the phone, and anytime my boyfriend would ask where they are and tell him that he needed to leave soon, they would tell him something different every time. Sorry, I had to wait for my friend to get here, so I had a ride because my car's in the shop, or I'll be there in about 30 minutes. We have to drop my girlfriend at work, or hey, sorry it's taking so long. I'm on my way. It'll only be about 10 more minutes. My boyfriend also tells me that they had previously settled on a different location, but after he had been there for about 10 to 15 minutes, they asked if he could meet them at a closed for the night gas station down the road. I told him he needed to leave right now. I told him that they were likely going to jump and rob him because everything was so sketchy and everything they said and did was textbook jumping and robbing cases. I hear those exact things in true crime stories. He said that yeah, he was about to leave anyway because he did feel like something was off too. He told me that he had parked right in front of the cameras outside the gas station so that if something did happen, there was a better chance of catching them. He messaged to tell them that he was leaving, and the guy replied that they were less than a mile away and that they'd be pulling in soon. I begged him to leave right that second and to keep note of any cars that may follow him. As we were talking, he threw his car in drive and left the parking lot. Not 30 seconds later, my boyfriend told me he got a message asking where he was, if he still wanted the item, to just pull over somewhere and they would come to him, etc. He did not reply and stayed on the phone with me until he was 100% sure that no one was following him and he was far enough away from where they were. He was sketched out from the beginning but decided not to give them the benefit of the doubt. I told him to trust his gut from now on. I was maybe 14 at the time when this takes place. I was currently living in an Asian country. I'm not from this country, only visiting family and friends. So it was close to late night when I was staying at my aunt's house, when I get a text from a random number telling me to come home now. I had just gotten this phone and didn't have any saved contacts, so I just suspected that it was my mom. I asked my aunt if I could leave. She insisted to wait till her son, my older cousin, to come home first, and he could walk me home. But then I was spammed with almost a dozen texts demanding I come home now or I'm in trouble. Being the little naive kid I was scared and told my aunt I was leaving. She continued to tell me to stay until I convinced her that I couldn't wait. She figured it would be okay since my house was only a 5-minute walk away. On my walk home, the streetlights weren't too bright, but it was just enough to see the path, when I get another text telling me to get in the van. I was confused by this. A black van then pulls up right beside me and rolls down the window. I didn't recognize the van, nor the person, but still thinking it's my mom on the other side of the phone, I agreed without hesitation. The man looked to be maybe late 30s, short hair and stubble beard. He then reached over to me and touched my waist, which was a surprise, but then another text came saying he's a doctor and wants to help me. The man stopped the van to the side, a darker part of the street, and motioned me to get in the back seat, which I agreed to. I don't remember freaking out for some reason, but I grew up with always being told what to do, so I suspect my natural instincts is to follow orders was at play. The man patted my stomach and rubbed it as if I were his pet. He then proceeded to poke me in random spots, asking if it hurt, which it did very much. He then shoved his thumb into my stomach and held it there for like a minute before I gagged and coughed up. I must have blacked out because everything was hazy until I remember my older cousin pulling me out of the van and hugging me, apologizing profusely, and then walked me the rest of the way home, gave me more hugs, and then left. I went to greet my mom, who was asleep. I then took her phone since her phone was more advanced than mine and had games. When I noticed her texts, I snooped through her messages, and the last time she texted was a few hours ago. At first, it didn't click for me. I was tempted to just wake my mom up and ask, but that's when it did. I had a rush of full thoughts going through my head, like if the person texting me wasn't my mom, then who was it? And who was that man in the van?